Sunday night, just gone 7 o'clock. It, of course, means one thing. We are back on 4-0 Sunday Live, coming to you live across the world here on Fournilwrittenalloverit. Whiz, that's a budget airline. With, as you can see, a panel filled with some of the 4-0 crew's finest. A big welcome for his first 24-25 4-0 written all over it and 4-0 Sunday Live debut. It's our very own retro shirt, Sean.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for inviting me back again. I've missed you guys. I haven't seen you much recently.
He's had a contract extension into the next season, which is good to see, much like our friends Marlon, Connor and Zach. 3-3 for Dan the Man.
Yeah, best start leaving me out, Tom. People are going to be bored.
Well, I'm conscious that we are...
by the glare from my head.
We are going to lose you for a period of time over sort of the run up to Christmas, aren't we? Due to sort of commitments out of the 4-0 control, aren't we? So we'll make the most of you while we've got you.
Bit.
We're still trying to come up with a 4-0 pseudo name for Dan. We've of course got Retro Shirt Sean, we have Little Reese, we've Mr. Fish Tank, we've got loads, but we've got nothing for Dan. So the floor is yours in the comments. Respectful, humorous, and if possible, pertinent nicknames would be great. Suggestions are welcome. He is back, everybody. Little Reese completes our star-studded lineup. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, mate. And I'm looking forward to talk more waffle.
Thanks, mate. That will mainly be coming
from my end.
Oh, I was going to say.
Yeah, there's no disrespect to you guys on the panel.
Could come from anywhere. Could absolutely come from anywhere. Hello to Joe. Welcome to Aaron. He joins us from Ensworth. Hello to Joey. Happy birthday for yesterday. Thank you very much. 15-mile hike, start to finish. All I can think about was that back heel. Don't you worry, Joey. We're going to talk about that back heel later on. Thank you to Rick, who sends his birthday wishes. Hello to Jamie, who said, thought we played a bit better Saturday evening. To Andrew, says, evening all belated. Happy 21st. The less said about Amy, Carl, the better. Dan, the Pompey man from Rick. Laces through it, Dan, says Andrew. There's an early suggestion. Brian says, keep the faith. We will be all right when the team becomes settled. Great to see Paul back. Paul is a topic of conversation for later on this evening. It is not just the four of us you'll be hearing from tonight. We, of course, look forward to hearing your thoughts, as people have already started doing, making up a lot of the conversation, as it always does. And before we head into all the fallout from yesterday, here's a brief reminder of our trip to Turf Moor. Good afternoon, Andrew.
Yeah, good afternoon, Tom. Microphone's a bit further away.
Come on, Anne. Let's do it.
Limbs were unbelievable. I was all over Dylan, he was all over me.
They've just done to us what we did to several teams last season.
And that's the levels, I suppose, isn't it? Yeah.
You know, the substitutions were awful today, Mazzinho.
But when we put balls into the box, the lack of a natural goal scorer just concerns me personally a little bit.
Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Keep the faith. And as always,
Play up, Pompey.
Pompey. There we are, the points of interest from yesterday afternoon. Retro, I received a WhatsApp message from you this morning at a minute past 11, which simply read, positive start, ran out of energy, need a number 9. In terms of a 3-syllable, one of 3-syllable review, a 3-phrase review, that's not a bad one.
No, I thought we started really well and we really gave Burnley, sort of a go. And I thought for the first 45 minutes, I thought, we could get something here. I thought we matched them all over the park. I know you could talk about Regan, his composure at the back. It was absolutely brilliant. But I think that lack of a target man, that point man, that one that can actually put the ball in the back of the net regularly is we're missing. We're missing Colby Bishop, and someone needs to step up into his shoes in the meantime.
We'll briefly come back to the nickname suggestions. Wayno's going Road Rage Dan. I don't know if there's a backstory to that one from yesterday, Daniel, by any chance. And he's just clocked. Maybe that's a story for us.
Ask Gaz all about that. You'll have a right laugh.
We'll ask Gaz. Pepe's with, I'm assuming that they're sat in the same room together. Russ has said, greetings, all happy birthday for yesterday. Good evening to Jeff, who says, how about no lies told, Dan? And please talk me off the ledge for this season. Jeff, I'm sure that Dan will be talking you down on many an occasion this season. Joey asked, Retro, do you miss Raggett yet? I think the answer is probably no.
Definitely not.
Very much a topic of conversation we'll come back to with all the guys on the panel tonight is no idea why Sorensen didn't get a look in. Emily asks, why is everyone being so negative? Which doesn't know why everyone's being so negative. The 7 teams we played first arguably be the top 7 at the end of the season. If you would have offered me 3 points at the start of the season, I would have taken it. Reese, I think our conversation has probably shifted now in terms of Pompey and the start to this season from, I remember having the conversation with you guys that we wanted the first win in the column to be before the first loss. And now it's almost feeling like, isn't it? The longer we chase that first win, the harder it's getting and the harder it's going to be.
Yeah, and I think I'd be more worried though, Tom, if the performances weren't there to show some promise to getting the first 3 points. We've already established, obviously, yesterday that the first half against Burnley, in my opinion anyway, was probably the best we played all season. I was really, really impressed with them. You could see the confidence. Josh Murphy, again, he's got that creativity and confidence to take on his man out the wing. Callum Lang, again, superb, being our player of the season so far. There is promise, and obviously Retro's already highlighted about an out-and-out striker as well. And I think we generally have, and I know we discuss it all the time about injuries and how unlucky we've been, etc. But we have been. Look, Yengi, Colby out for the season. And I know we're going to discuss about Sorensen as well, not getting a look in either. But there has been times where Sadie's done really well this season. You just look at Middlesbrough and things. And I think on the balance of play, you're right. We do need to pick up that first win as soon as possible. And I know some people aren't really looking to Sheffield United next weekend to see that being the first win of the season, especially when they're one of the teams unbeaten this year. It's going to be really, really tough. But then you've got the fixtures, obviously Stoke, Oxford, QPR and all that coming up. That's going to be the real test to see if we can obviously beat the teams around us, in terms of staying in this division. But yeah, I still believe that the performances have been there so far this season. I've got a lot of confidence with it, but I also understand and respect people's opinions that obviously seeing just 3 points on the board after 6 games isn't nice to see. But when you put it in context with the teams that we've played, sometimes you can't argue, unfortunately.
I think it's interesting if, and I know we're not, and this is completely hypothetically talking, but if you're at the tail end of a season and you drop the games in at equal points during the season and we get a point at Middlesbrough, we get a point at Leeds, we lose away at Burnley, it kind of, if you said, we got 3 points from those games, you're a little bit more like, okay, so, or we got a couple of points from those games, not 3, because that third one came against Luton, didn't it? But yeah, certainly, I think a bit of a buzzword on 4-0 Sunday Live tonight is going to be that lack of the out-and-out number 9. We're going to come back to it, and that run of games you mentioned there, Reese, is something we're going to talk about as well. Dan, has much changed in your mind on reflection 24, 25 hours on since we had a debrief outside Turf Moor?
Only that I've had time to sink it in, Tom. In terms of talking people off the ledge, in terms of, to coin a well-known phrase from last season, go home, sleep well, people, we're staying up, all right? So let's just avoid any panic. But I do think that there are some things that we need to be taking seriously. and there are some things that need identifying, because when October comes round, we really need to be on it to bag the points against these so-called inverted comma lesser teams. And if we keep hurting ourselves, and I think, you know, listening back to comments over the last 24 hours, Tom, there's a reason for, we spoke about Mourinho's perceived anger, his purposeful march towards the referee and then to the dressing room. I think it's that no matter how you dissect the last few games, at times we've hurt ourselves, haven't we? You know, I said to you coming away from the game yesterday that when it goes 1-1, and okay, that's an unfortunate goal to concede, but nevertheless, it's a great strike. He puts it in the one place Norris is not getting it. But after that point, what concerns me, and I don't know if it's the substitutions in that so many needing to bed in so quickly with the pace of the game, but we're just not on it. And we kept, you know, even prior to the goal, we'd given the ball away in areas where they could then hurt us, you know, and it was just those are the types of things we need to eliminate. Giving the ball away cheaply, you know, at the bottom of our middle third, where they can then turn and be on us. That's going to prove expensive, regardless of who we're playing in this league. And that's the only thing that concerns me. And Sean's hit on it as well. The number of goals that Bishop contributed last season is a lot of goals to replace, and the previous season for that matter. And I don't see where they're coming from in the perceived starting 11 as it stands at the moment. You've got a natural finisher in Sorensen. I genuinely believe that genuine goal scorers score goals at any level, because it's something, you know, we were talking about Pittman yesterday, you know, it's generally something that you cannot teach. You've either got that coordination with your feet to be able to anticipate, get your feet in the right position to get the shot away, or you haven't. And I think Sorensen's worth it. Now, whether or not he's playing Sadie, because as we said, we were more narrow in the first half to keep the shape, to stop teams playing through us like a knife through butter, like your West Broms, I don't know. Does he drop Sadie and go with Sorensen when we're playing the perceived lesser teams? I don't know. Only John Mourinho can answer that. But it is a concern of mine, as I said, and it's a concern of Sean's looking at that.
Hello to Nappa's mum, who says love and hugs. Very happy 21st for yesterday. Thank you very much. Russ is a member. There's plenty coming up for members on this channel, by the way. We've got a behind-the-scenes video coming out in the next few days, which is very exciting. For the most part, Burnley were pegged back in what I thought was arguably Pompey's best performance of the season today, as Reece was picking up on the wins will come soon. And hello to Mr. Alex Hayward, who says, evening, fellas. Cannot wait to see a fair few of you for next week's game against Sheffield. Performances aren't sinking the players out. We're just hopeful. Keep the faith. The always positive Alex Hayward. Channel 72, Jakey saying, dropping in, say lots of love. Hope you have an amazing birthday. See you at Stoke. Fingers crossed on that one. Pompey Nick Mush saying, once we win one, we'll get a couple. You can see how gutted the players were afterwards. Mike says, two big mistakes with the second goal. First of all, what was Richie thinking that back heel? Then Norris hardly moved and watched the ball roll past him. Mike, we're going to talk about the goals in detail in a moment. Retro, start 11 is stronger and it is more recognisable for what we need in the Championship. Structure, yes, looking better. Dare I say we had a bit of identity from the first hour yesterday, but then on the flip side, in-game management still very much an issue. What are your thoughts?
I think we were solid. You know, you would argue that the players that started with the ones that are available are our strongest starting 11. You know, I take that. I think that we played in a manner that we were used to last season. The back four was more solid. They seemed to know each other. There was a good structure passing out from the back. You know, the wingers were doing what they were asked to. They were taking people on, and we looked assured. I do wonder whether at this level, and with the players coming back from injury, the substitutions were made because of the fact it wasn't tactical, what didn't suit the game, but due to the players available and the fitness levels available at this time. Because it did seem we weakened ourselves with our substitutions. It felt like we were then just trying to get through to the end, trying to get over the line, and it didn't quite work out. I can't argue for Matt Ritchie's back heel. We will have a moment, especially someone so experienced. I was surprised. But everyone makes mistakes.
Reece, on that starting 11, we saw Freddie Potts dispossess Andre Dizelle from that position alongside Marlon Pack. We're going to chat about Freddie Potts later on, but I, for one, was really pleased to see him starting. I think you, like me, see him as probably the long-term occupier of that spot alongside Pack in midfield.
Yeah, well, obviously Potts had a fantastic stint at Wickham last season, obviously picking up their Player of the Year at the club. He deserved a chance because he's not had one, obviously, since coming to Pompey. Dizelle, I've been a little bit underwhelmed with, if I'm totally honest, and it comes back to the discussion about game management and bringing on the wrong subs at the wrong time. And again, I don't want to feel like the way I do when I see Dizelle play, but as soon as he came on, I just felt we lacked that little bit of quality in midfield then, obviously, and it obviously showed with the second goal in added time in terms of who's he actually marking, who's he tracking and stuff, and getting in the right place, right times and stuff, and putting in them challenges. And I know Dizelle's had a fantastic career so far in the championships. He's played a lot of games for QPR, etc. Sheffield United were after him in the summer, of course, but I don't know. It's been really tough start to the season because when you compare Pack and Dizelle to Pack and Potts so far, and even argue the case for Kamara, of course, I can see Kamara and Potts being in front of Dizelle, but no, I am pleased with how Potts played for his obviously debut and stuff, and I think there's more to come, and there is that talent that we can clearly see that West Ham want to obviously keep hold of.
Over 150 of you joining us live on 4-0 Sunday Live already this evening, including Ryan, who says, evening, fellas, bit late to the party. You're here, Ryan, so that's not a problem. Like, at least 4 points for the next 2 home games to take into that rather more comfortable run of October. Keep the faith. Thanks very much for your comment, Ryan, and enjoy the rest of the show, and thanks for getting in touch as always. Dan, how do you currently assess the situation for that second holding midfield spot? Reece has outlined it there. You've got Potts, you've got Moxon, you've got Dizelle, you've got Kamara, and even Terry Devlin, all to choose from, as it seemed to have stoked a bit of debate among Pompey fans. Where do you sit?
Given these performances this season, I was also a bit surprised when Dizelle comes on, given the options available. I've scribbled down my starting 11 here, Tom, in terms of what I perceive long-term going forward. And it doesn't actually, as Sean says, it doesn't really differ very much at all. Potts has a great game. What it hinges on for me, as I alluded to before, is does he see Sadie as being stronger as that first line of defence? Therefore, he's prepared to sacrifice a Sorensen, instead of having being able to come through that first line and immediately be looking at our holding midfield players. I really think that Harvey Blair was offered a real poison chalice yesterday in playing the role that he came on to play. He was there to just chase things down, really, not playing in his natural role at all. It was very much taking one for the team, but I did find it, like Reece, surprising that given Dizelle's ability to, I spoke before about giving the ball away at the top of our defensive third, and Dizelle's done that once too often already this season for me. And that's not to be critical of the lad; it's just facts that he has, and it's a little bit of a worry. We looked more comfortable when Potts was in that position. Kamara, when he came on against, was it the Baggies? Yeah. I felt that.
And Sunderland.
If I had a criticism of Kamara, he looked very assured on the ball, but all the passes appeared to go backwards. Now, sometimes you can be critical of the players in front of you for not providing, the runs, the options, making themselves available. But I didn't feel that was the case. I thought that of the 3 we've tried in that position thus far this season, Potts had by far the strongest performance for that hour.
Retro, do you have a preference on who starts alongside Pack? I'm assuming you're probably going to go with a gang and go with Potts.
Potts was unknown to me, but given that performance against Burnley, we admit they're a good team. They're going to be up around there, and he held his own. He was quiet. He was assured. He made all the right decisions at the right time. Whether that was Pat controlling him, telling him what to do, but whatever it happened, it worked. So if it's working, why would you risk anything else? Again, I'm with the rest of the lads on Dizelle. He's obviously got championship quality. He's been around a while, but he's also known. And I do wonder whether he's a known quantity to a lot of teams. He didn't seem to be that confident going forward and taken the players on as such. He seemed to lose it too often. He puts us under pressure, whether that's maybe because he's new to the team and doesn't know the way we play. But you can argue that with Potts, but it seemed to be that Potts put every foot right and therefore should be rewarded going forward. Until we find someone better than him, he's my man.
Another point of discussion, and to move on from the midfield discussion, Reece, is Pompey's consistency in conceding in the 90-plus minute away from home on our travels, which is very much a habit that we should be wanting to rid ourselves of.
It is, and I think obviously it's in the back of the minds of the players, not just the fans, let's be honest. And we've already highlighted it, and you could see in your video, Tom, when we did concede it, the players, especially yesterday's performance, I just felt like it just took everything out of them. Even Poole falling to the ground, and obviously players just shell-shocked. But I think sometimes in football, you just sometimes have to accept the fact that obviously until your change of luck comes about, and obviously you can see out games, you can get that first clean sheet, etc. with your win, these sort of things are going to happen. And I know we keep saying it about the level of opposition, but there's a reason why some of these clubs were in the Premier League last year and fighting to stay in the top 6 of the Championship, because they know how to get the points that they need to get out of this division and stay in the top side of the league. But yeah, it is worrying. It's really worrying because, again, I was with you at Leeds, etc., and we've seen it happen at Middlesbrough. And yeah, we do need to cut it out, especially if we're looking at fine margins between a draw and a defeat, even against these big sides. Getting them points is all going to add up at the end of the season. And yeah, we do need to change this very quickly.
Dan, 7 points dropped from the 90th minute onwards so far this season.
Yeah, when it keeps happening, you can talk about I spoke about Burnley finding a way, and from their perspective, they did, and from our perspective, so many times last season, we did.
Yeah.
But when it keeps happening to you, in any profession, in any walk of life, you need to start looking at what the common denominator is, and that's us. And so it's something that it's something that, having listened to Mourinho post-match, it's something that clearly they're very much aware of. It's something that we're very much aware of. As you just said, the team are very much aware of it. I trust them to get it right, but it's a worrying trend at the moment, and we can't blame anybody else other than ourselves. Had we got those additional points, how happy would we all be feeling right now? And it would have taken a lot of the negative talk away, and we wouldn't necessarily be having the conversations about the number 9s. We'd be having the conversations about how we've set up correctly for the opposition in front of us. And it might, but then again, the flip side of it is that in itself can be viewed as a positive. And maybe Mourinho will change it again when we're faced with different types of opposition.
Retro, do you think in large part it is down to the shell shock jump start that Reece has mentioned to this championship campaign? We've been handed that fuels conceding late on, or is there maybe something else behind it?
I think it's partly that, but I also think part of it is the energy levels of the team, the quality of the players that we have. We have a squad of players that are championship quality, some of them, most of them, but our first 11 against a team that's come down from the Premiership with their squad that they have, and we're playing our players away from home. They put a shift in, and then they're knackered, and then the players we're bringing on from the bench probably aren't at that quality. Mourinho doesn't have those reserves, whereas Burnley can bring on 2 players and put the game away from us. And I think it's that level of the fact that it's the quality of the players. Some of our players will grow into the season. Some of our youngsters will become really good championship players. It's just managing the squad, the energy levels, and that's the Rubik's Cube that Mourinho's got, not helped by some of the pieces missing, Bishop being the big one. And I think, I'm not panicking. These we'd have taken, like you said, these points from the start of the season. We'd have taken these points and gone, yeah, fine. But spread out would have been fine. But in a one bolus of games, you sort of look at it going, it's a shame that win isn't there yet. But once we get past United and Stoke, things should look good for us. Lots of 6-pointers, teams around us, could be quite exciting. I'm still positive. I'm usually negative a lot of the time, but I think I'm positive. I just think that Mourinho needs some more tools at his disposal, some players to come through, a couple to make names for themselves. I was kind of hoping Silvera would be one of those players, but not so, and or hasn't shown it so far. Richie, I thought would be a solid. You could bring him in, rely on him, but he didn't.
We're going to talk about that Richie goal in just a moment. We are actually going to come back to the notion of, yes, 6 pointers, but actually putting too much pressure on yourselves during those 6 pointers could maybe be counterintuitive, is one of my questions for later on. Last thing before we move on to a few different bits and pieces and then through the goals. Reece, what does it say about us when the majority of the messages and comments that you see on Fournilwrittenalloverit and a wider sort of spectrum on social media from opposition fan bases on the 4-0 videos all season so far have been either about how good the fans were away from home, which I think is a given and we're delighted, and sort of maybe building up a bit of a merry band of Championship fans that didn't quite realise that Pompey really travelled in numbers still and make such a noise. Or they say, play like that and you'll be fine this season. And what, if anything, do you think we could take from that?
Well, I think I alluded to it earlier, actually, in regards to that. Although we haven't picked up our first win of the season yet, the performances have been there to be, I don't know, like some performances have been proud of. Obviously, we've been competitive in this division. And again, I know we keep discussing it, and all Pompey fans have been talking about the first 7 fixtures and the size of the clubs and obviously the quality that they have. These fan bases have, the last couple of years, especially Burnley, Sheffield United, Leeds and all that, they've had all these teams like Man United, Man City, all these in the last couple of seasons. So if anything, it's quite a compliment to obviously turn around to Pompey, who's just come up from League One, to be playing it with them boys in the same division. And there's obviously promise. There's a few things missing, as we've already, again, alluded to and obviously discussed. And we need to obviously put right, especially the last minute goals and stuff. But it does say a lot about obviously how we can do this season. And once we play teams, like I said, in amongst around us, like QPR, Stoke, obviously you've got teams like that, Cardiff. If we can start to perform like we did against Burnley and that, we will definitely win games in this division. And you can see why the fans feel the same about it. So there's no need to be panicking right now, although a lot of fans obviously are worried about not obviously picking up any wins so far. But John and the boys are obviously doing as much as they can. They really are being competitive at times. And obviously that's why we've got the other fans, behind us in the division.
Trophy Hunter RMS says, hi guys, disappointing loss yesterday, but I thought it would be interesting hearing your thoughts on the fact that Cardiff has sat their manager. We'll get onto that a little bit later on. That is in the script to go through. Our very good friend Dan of the show and regular guest panelist on 4-0 Sunday Live Nappers was, of course, with the 4-0 entourage yesterday. This was his tuppence from an outside looking in. What do you make of what he said there?
I don't think he's wrong about an awful lot, is he? I just think it really echoes what we're saying. The Oxford being massive for us. I think every game in the immediate aftermath at the end of September is going to be massive for a little while. I do think we need to pick up points. You just alluded to maybe a question about will it prove counterintuitive if we place too much importance on those games? I think the important thing to remember, and one of the things that I would hope that professional footballers, as other professionals are in every walk of life are coached, is that you've got to play the game and not the occasion. And just, play what's in front of you. And do we believe we're good enough to belong? Well, I think there are elements of us that have proved that we're good enough to belong. And if we play the game and the occasion, we'll be just fine. But Ben's not really highlighted a great deal there that we didn't at least, i.e. talk about in the stand yesterday, or that we've not already talking about here. First thing Ben and I said to you about 10 minutes in is, we're narrow, And I do wonder if that was, maybe having watched the West Bromwich Albion game and how quickly they were able to turn defensive into attack. I also said to you during that first half that while we've looked compact and maintained the shape and structure, they always had a pass available. They were incredibly quick. They used all the width of the pitch, and that in the second half, that could prove challenging the deeper you go into the game, and really so it proved. There was so much that was so easy to see yesterday with such clarity. There was also so much that I liked about the game. So yeah, I can't disagree with anything Ben said there, really.
It has just gone 7:30. Good evening to you. Welcome to 4-0 Sunday Live. There are almost 200 of you joining the four of us here on the panel this evening. Reece, let's get into the goals. We'll talk about the Pompey one, thanks in large part to the crossfield run from Freddie Potts, who we've already mentioned had a really encouraging first game in a blue shirt yesterday. What did you like about this?
I like the fact that obviously we're actually taking the chance to get ourselves into the box. Lang at the back post, taking that chance to move forward in line with the defence. And I think, to be honest with you, it felt like it was coming as well at that stage because we had a lot of momentum going up the field at that time. And I know that obviously we were on par throughout the game in terms of possession-wise and things. And I just like the fact that, as I alluded to earlier about Murphy, he's got that confidence to be taking on his men outside on the wing, and Lane making that movement as well, because Lane has had a lot of criticism so far this season and questions around if he's even up to the standard of the Championship. And I think moments like that he isn't known for in his game really obviously shows that he has still got the ability to make it at this level. But that's the kind of quality that Pompey fans are crying out for throughout the season, regardless of the level of opposition you're playing against, and not just taking shots from out box and things like that. But it also comes back to Callum Lang again, doesn't it? How well of a season he's already had. But yeah, playing it around and getting in that box, getting behind the Burnley defence and playing it across, I was surprised a little bit because I couldn't quite believe that we'd gone 1-0 up at Burnley, if I'm honest. But again, he took that chance at the back post. Great vision to find him as well for Callum Lang.
Post that goal, Retro, we did well until the break. Then probably, I want to say 5 minutes before the equaliser, we sort of sat 5 yards deeper. Thus, pressure was invited. And when you do that to a very strong Burnley side, there's a very likely outcome.
Yeah, I think, was it energy levels? Was it the fact that we were sort of being closed down? They were controlling the game more. But, they but for whatever reason, we sat back, gave them the opportunity, and, they're a good outfit. And they just came in, took us apart nicely at the back. It was quite a rather sort of training sort of ground goal. It was very easy. It looked easy for them, which is what made me, it was a shame that it was such an easy goal for us to concede, bearing in mind we'd fought so hard for the 50-odd minutes before.
You spoke about the experience of Matt Ritchie and the flick. Would you also say, Retro, that the lack of closing down on the edges of that 18-yard box from someone of the experience of Marlon Pack is a concern for you?
Yeah, but is it because he'd been running around for 80-odd minutes, 90 minutes into the extra time, tired? He's not a spring chicken, as I'm sure he'll admit himself. And it's those moments that are costing us, and it may be the fact that we just haven't got 90 minutes of our strongest side at the minute going forward. And until that's resolved, until we get some of the players step up from the bench, until we manage what we've got, we're not so tired chasing games. I'm sure as we get towards some of these teams that are more like us, with a smattering of players who aren't Championship quality in their squads, we'll be able to actually have enough to get through the 90 minutes. But against the big sides who can call on big replacements, I think we'll continue to struggle probably for the rest of the season.
Good evening to AREC83. He said, love the channel, Tom. Happy birthday from a baggy. Portsmouth deserved more than what they've played so far this season. All the best. There's another example there of an opposition fan praising Pompey, which is nice to see. And then, Dan, 94th minute, heartbreaking, flattening, but again, the Retro's outlined it there for the equaliser, but seemingly an incredibly avoidable goal to concede.
Yeah, it all stems, we've got control of the situation, haven't we? And that's what's so frustrating about it is in the initial phase of the build-up, it's us that gift the ball to them in that high position. And unfortunately, Norris just gets wrong-footed, doesn't he? I've watched it. There's been some criticism of him in terms of not making the attempt for the save, but it's just travelling at just the right pace into just the right spot, isn't it? And he's already just flat-footed enough. It's a difficult one. I don't think he's getting there in a month of Sundays, to be honest. But that's not what I'm concerned about. It's the fact that, again, it's a situation where we were in control. and the back heel. We need to control the controllables, and the minute we do, our world will change.
Reece, Dan mentioned it earlier on in the show, and I want to come back to it because I think it's quite not crucial, but I think it's important. We both had the pleasure of chatting to John Messino a week or so ago. He was left, should we describe as uncharacteristically enraged after the game, and you can see exactly why.
Well, yeah, of course, he sets the standards every day in the training ground, and obviously the performances so far this season, he can accept. He can accept the fact that we've lost games where we've been in it from the minute off. But like we've already just said, in regards to especially the winner, the mistake from Matt Ritchie, and we go on about how experienced he is and years of playing at the top level. If he's going to try that back heel, he has to make sure it goes to the defender, because the amount of opposition that was in our final third, you knew that if he made any mistake whatsoever, that will obviously pile the pressure on, especially at that time of the game. You would naturally think he would just clear it up the pitch or something like that. But instead of trying to actually back heel the ball in the 95th minute of the game and for it to not come off, and I know he's been getting a lot of criticism since coming back to Pompey, and he hasn't been putting in performances that we had hoped for. We want that reunion. We want him to do well for us this season, but it just hasn't clicked so far. And again, it comes back to a 90-minute performance as a whole team and game management and stuff. So you can completely understand why Messino was really, really disappointed with the players coming off the pitch after the 2 goals that we conceded in general. But I'd also like to just mention about the Norris situation, and I understand Dan obviously isn't going to blame him for the second goal or anything, but it kind of reminded me a lot of when we went to Leeds' first game of the season, where he is completely to one side rather than the other side, and he's been caught off. It's been, on a number of occasions this season, and I know you can break it down and analyse it properly and see if it is his mistake or if anything in front of him, the defence-wise, could do anything about it. But unfortunately, them sort of goals have cost us big time this season, and they've all been in the 90-plus minutes as well.
Do we think that then means, Reece, that there's any movement on the number 1 shirt between the sticks?
Yeah, we've had discussions about this, haven't we? To be fair, a few times since the goalkeeper came in during the summer, we have discussed when is it going to take, what game is it going to take for Norris to finally be, out for the first team and to give the other keeper a chance. And I think analysing that performance, Messino's probably going to consider it now. Not to say that he is going to chuck him straight in, but I think Norris has had a few times this season where he has obviously been vital for keeping the points for us in games. And I mean, there's been moments of, brilliance from him, hasn't there? You just look at West Brom with that header clearing off the line, for example. We know how good Norris can be as a goalkeeper, but unfortunately, he's cost us as well a few times this season. And I know the rest of the team has as well, but if you've got another goalkeeper that's hungry to prove himself in this division and in this country, you've got to give him a chance. It's just the same as when we discussed about Freddie Potts, etc., coming into the side. How are we going to know if they're going to be any better than the current talent we have unless we give him a chance? And we haven't yet. So,
Rick says Dan is spot on, moving the other way, weight shifted, etc. Won't get there flat-footed. Retro, let's talk about Regan Poole, shall we? Because that is a little bit of a glimmer of happiness, I suppose, in what was a rather dismal afternoon. Well, for a couple of minutes towards the end, turned from being slightly dismal to extremely dismal. Quite some achievement for probably our best player on the pitch yesterday to be on his first league start in 10 months. And it's almost like winning Employee of the Month on your first day back in the office.
He just oozes class and composure. I don't know, he has it. He's one of those guys who comes on the pitch at that level, and he's always going to hit that level. Even before his injury, he was a consistent performer. And that's why he was brought in for this league, and we managed to get him somehow. And he is, he is a class above the players around him. And I think going forward, he will show his worth. He'll be the Raggett of the League Two that season. He'll be that kind of guy for us, and I think he'll be good. And we've missed him. We've missed the quality, and he seems to have a good rapport with Norris. And that's my only concern. If we change the goalkeeper, will that affect the communication between the goalkeeper and him? Regan Poole, I think, is of that class. He'd probably take it in his stride. But as soon as you start messing around with key people in defence, we've missed him. We've got him back. you start changing everything around him, it could change things for us.
Dan, Retro's mentioned him there, but Regan Poole was a world-class League One centre-back, and it's proving that he's a top level Championship centre-back as well.
World-class League One and centre-back all in the same sentence. Both in League One.
Why not?
Seriously, he was... He read the game very well yesterday. It's what enabled him to get blocks in. He knew when to distribute effectively and when to clear. I just thought all round his decision making in terms of his positioning and his blocking and he's where to be when. I noticed yesterday, just watching him back, something I noticed in him last season actually. He never gets too tight on the player he's marking. He always gives them the half yard, knowing that they've got that if they turn, they've got to move the ball into that space. So there you go. I'm going to stand in that half yard. You know, he's an intelligent footballer, and I think that shines through, and probably will continue to shine through at any level. You know.
Hello to my little man. Thanks very much for joining us. We're going to chat now, Reese, about, and we try not to make 4-0 Sunday Live too stat and numbers heavy, but I think this illustrates the day pretty well yesterday. Sometimes we say the numbers lie. I don't think they do here. What you're looking at your screen for everybody at home and for panelists that I'm sure you will have worked it out by now, but the left-hand graphic is the first half numbers and the right hand is the second half. Pompey with the better of the chances and a more threatening side in the first, Reese, and then with absolutely nothing to offer post the half-time break.
Which is, I mean, to be fair, been a common theme all season, to be honest with you. If you get stats up in regards to being in the game for the first 45, being really competitive. And yeah, you can probably tell that the shift in, obviously, momentum yesterday in that second half. And obviously a knock-on effect with that, of course, is what we've already discussed about game management, bringing on the wrong people at the wrong time in the game. And yeah, I think one shot on target in the second half and one shot on target in the first half isn't a true reflection. But when you start to look at the big chances that we had in the first half compared to the second half, as well as obviously accurate passing, says it all, if I'm totally honest. Because we had 74%, is that 99 accurate passes made in the first half compared to 60 and just 57% in the second.
Yeah.
And yeah. And the worst one, of course, would be, like I just discussed, the shots on target, the total shots as well, just being the one, and expected goals. I think that sums up, obviously, how we were on the back foot throughout the whole of the second half. And, yeah, we alluded to earlier as well, when you've got the quality to bring off to make these stats stand out a bit more, like Sarmiento. What's his name? Sarmiento?
Jeremy Sarmiento.
Yeah, when you compare him to, say, you know, no disrespect as well, because he's a Pompey player at the moment, but Sammy Silvera, you know, these stats can change just like that with the quality like that.
Retro 0.04 XG away from home in any second half against any side is pretty unforgivable and not acceptable, is it?
It's not great when you're leaking goals at the back. You know, I could take it. We're not going to score goals if we're solid. But when we started making silly mistakes and we leak goals, then that's when you lose your lead. The one thing I'd like to see a lot there is actually, if you've got the stat or you can get the stat, is the amount of grass covered by the players in the first half and in the second half to see how their fitness levels fell off.
Yeah, so heat maps. The heat maps would be interesting. Okay, maybe we can work on that for the next 4-0 Sunday Live with Retro Shirt Sean on the panel. I want to talk a little bit, and we're going to explore it slightly more. And if you wouldn't mind, gents, just a little bit brief on this, because I've still got games to come, games we've had, and a bit of Sheffield United chat to end the show. 15 minutes left here on 4-0 Sunday Live, and it's great to have you all with us. And feel free to, as you have been doing all evening, carry on and build the conversation in the live chat down below. We always love hearing from you. Sadie, back to goal, box to box, close control, eye for the opportunity to shoot on sight. Brilliant, Dan. Bottom line, it's difficult to deploy as a sole number 9 for what Pompey need right now to build on Retro's point. You stated your case for Sorensen on numerous occasions. And I think, and feel free to tell me that I'm putting words in your mouth, but I would assume that that's in part born out of the concern that we don't have a forward to run the channels. And when we do get the ball into the right area, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, we don't have that natural number 9 finisher to finish and attack in those areas as Retro's outlined.
Yeah, you need to look at the type of striker he is, though, Sean. I don't think a Sorensen runs the channels. I see him as an authentic number 9 in the way that, for those of us old enough to remember, a Greaves might have been a number 9, a Lineker might have been a number 9, although he wore a 10. But for me, we've got two great wide options coming this season in terms of Blair and Murphy, guys who really have the ability to be the fullback. And when you turn a defence, that's where I believe guys like Sorensen can really make hay. And I just I don't think Sadie offers anything in terms of being that type of striker at all. And that's how you get 20 goals a season. You know, you spoke to me before about, well, you know, he's not the tallest, he's not great in the air, you put crosses into the box, but Greaves wasn't the greatest in the air, beat school lows with his head. Neither was Lineker, but they're somehow able to coordinate to get parts of their body on things. They're natural finishers, and it's something you can't teach. And he might have played in the Danish second division or whatever, but I genuinely believe that history tells me that strikers are strikers, and if you find one that's got the knack, they've got the knack. I just think Sadie possibly offers us more defensively because of his strength. And maybe that's the concern of the management team. I don't know. You wanted to keep it brief, so I'm going to shut up.
That's all right. Never shut up, Dan. We always love listening to you. We're going to put this on the branding for the next 4-0 set alive, I think, from Luke, who said, win or lose, got to love spending a bit of your evening with these. Win, lose, or draw.
Yes, 3 options.
Absolutely. Always 3 options. Retro, basic question, which I'm sure you're going to give a multifaceted answer to. Who starts in the number 9 position at Pompey right now for you to solve this dilemma of the lack of goal scoring output? Or is there any solution?
With the players we have available, I'm going to sort of echo what Dan said about Sadie. Sadie's strength is the fact he's a battering ram, strong, and you always want to bring him on 2/3 into the game where the defence is exhausted and you take control that way. I think with the two we got at the minute, it has to be Lang and Sorensen. Lang playing deep, number 10, Sorensen further up, using your wingers to get the ball in. That's what we've got. Problem is, I think they're not. Do they have the strength? It's that balance of strength and guile. You know, it's Sadie is strong. He's the battering ram. He can knock things down. But Lang and Sorensen are more the guile players. Sorensen's in the box, hitting the back of the net. Lang is the right place every time, arriving late. And against strong centre backs, they may struggle to open things up. But that's when you're relying on your wingers to do it. So at the minute, Sorensen and Lang are my 2 with the players we have available. Silvera hasn't done anything for me yet.
Reese, I appreciate we are sort of maybe feeling like this argument's getting a little bit weary, but I think it's important to paint a full picture. And the graphic on the left is the games that Pompey have played. The graphic on the right is what's to come over the next sort of month, 2.5 months or so. Sorry, month and a half or so. One point of view would be we lost 5 games in the league all season last year. We've already lost 3 in a row this season. We've spoken already tonight about missing the 20 goal a season striker. We've discussed who or what makes up for that goal threat just there. And I spoke to Dan and Retro about this earlier on, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. Some would probably say that, or think that we're maybe even in for a bit of a rude awakening against the so-called weaker sides, who you could well say would be and will be every bit as tough to beat as the games we've already played so far.
Well, especially if, you know, as a fan base, we're setting ourselves up to be pinpointing certain teams that we think are going to be the ones that we're going to pick up 3 points against, because you're going into the game and obviously you're completely forgetting about the momentum of them teams coming into the season. You look at Oxford and how well they've done to start the season. Cardiff have obviously struggled, but they've just sacked their manager, so they could obviously have a lot of momentum going into our game eventually at the end of October. But yeah, and you mentioned obviously League One last year and only losing, was it 5 games all season?
5 games all season.
And I know I hate to state the obvious, but the difference in quality, of course, is, you know, I think is a bit more shocking to some fans than they were expecting, you know, coming into this division, thinking that we could probably pick up 4, 5, maybe even 6 points at the start of the season. But it does just show the quality that we've gone up against. And there is honestly reasons why they are in the position that they've been in the last couple of years, i.e. Premier League or top 6 in the Championship, is because they know how to obviously score the goal, see out games, etc. And when they go on blitz, such as Leeds United, and obviously the common song of Leeds are falling apart again, obviously they picked up a couple of wins here and there as well. You know, at the end of the day, we need to start doing that as well. But yeah, you look at Stoke. I think Stoke is going to be our best chance so far this season, if I'm totally honest, to pick up 3 points, because I'm hoping by then a couple more players back from injury properly. And obviously we'd have more of an established 11, i.e. McIntyre, Poole, you know, getting regular game time together again after the Burnley game. And obviously Stoke, you know, they've just appointed a new manager and got their first defeat, losing at home to Hull 3-1 as well the other night. There is one or two teams, and then you look at Oxford, and, you know, as Pompey fans, we've played Oxford a few times over the years, haven't we? And it hasn't been easy, especially away from home when we go to the Kassam. But yeah, you know, like you just said, going into these games thinking these are the ones we need to pinpoint and these are the ones that we're going to have to pick up 3 points with can become a negative in itself sometimes. And yeah, we might surprise ourselves a little bit, but in a negative way.
Yeah, and just to pick up on that negativity, Retro, I'll throw an argument back in, sort of bat it straight back to you, because I did want to leave it until the last part of this show to come back to say that it might do more harm than good to earmark, say, the Stoke game in a week or so's time, Oxford game, Cardiff away, who we've already mentioned have parted company with their manager today. Important not to pile on the pressure on those games and treat them as any other championship game with the opportunity at the end of them to get 3 points from.
Exactly that. You know, I look at that fixture list, and you know, hand on heart, do you think honestly we can win with the team we have with the players available? You know, I would not be surprised if we get 5 points between now and our game against Sheffield Wednesday. You're right. Don't put the pressure on yourself. We're playing for all the points, but I'd still take 5 points from those next 5 games.
So we were talking about the negativity from Retro's disappeared on the channel. I can confirm that it's right back with us now. Dan, your thoughts on when Pompey's first 3 points comes in a single game this season, please?
You know, ideally Saturday would be wonderful for as a confidence piece. You know, if we hang on and win yesterday 1-0, you know, we could have left that game saying, right, if we win here, we put a line in the sand. If we can win here, we can win anywhere. I think the same could be said with the Sheffield United game. So the simple answer to that, Tom, is the shortest route between 2 points is a straight line, and I just need it to come ASAP. Otherwise, if you, as Reece says, if you start pinpointing games start running out very quickly and seasons start running away from you. We need to play matches, not the occasion. We need to learn from our experiences. But if you want to take a crumb of comfort, again, to call it a previous phrase, cream always rises to the top, Tom. And I believe the cream's rising quite quickly in this division this season, in that we've played 7 matches come 5 p.m. next Saturday.
Yeah.
Of those 7 teams that we'll have played, as we sit tonight, 5 of them are currently in the top 6.
Yeah.
So
Premier League 2.
Premier League 2, yeah. And, you know, you can be critical and talk about, you know, maybe we've got players who aren't quite the standard. Tom, we've sat for 12 years in the lower divisions with football's finances running away from us in a crazy manner. And people can talk about owners this and investment that. And I don't care if you've got billionaire owners anymore, because everybody's got billionaire owners now. We've spent 12 years with it running away from us. We just need a reality check to trust the brick by brick process a little bit. I said time and time again, the coaching staff don't get a lot wrong at this club. And there's generally a method in what they're trying to do. And, you know, where are we? You know, we're closing in after Christmas on 2 years of a Mourinho reign. And I think he would give credit to the coaching staff around him. I think we're on a hell of a journey. And I'm hopeful that we'll just learn from these experiences and play the occasions, not the games coming up.
Yeah, learning curve for everybody. You have got, and that's players, staff, I think even...
Sorry, play the games and not the occasions is what I meant.
That's okay. And fan bases in the alike. You have a little under 5 minutes to get your score prediction in for Pompey against Sheffield United at Fratton Park this coming Saturday. Now, the last few times we've been doing Trust me, Joey, we absolutely don't want that because the whole country would fall into absolute chaos extremely quickly.
Already.
Oh, God.
Get your score predictions into the comment section down below. I was just saying there, the last time we did one of these score prediction things, everybody was sort of maybe a little bit more riding the crest of being back in the championship wave. And all season, last season on 4-0 Sunday Live, we were actually quite lucky to be reacting to a number of positive results. And we had positive and sort of blue-eyed monster Pompey score predictions coming in left, right, and centre in the live chat down below. I've got a feeling they might be slightly more refined this evening. So let us know how you're feeling in the comment section down below. Dan Scott said, great show, guys. Always a great end to the weekend. Dan, thanks very much for joining us. Retro, let's chat Sheffield United then. It is the last game of what's been a extremely tough September for Pompey. And this is probably, arguably, one of the toughest of the lot. How do you see it right now?
It's going to be a tough test. I think, home advantage. My heart says that we're going to draw. My heart says we will sneak a win, but my head says it's going to be a draw. I'm afraid. They're a tough opponent. They've got a good squad. They've started better than we have. Don't have the injuries we have. I just think they'll be a step too far. It'd be nice that if we can get a draw. If we get 3 points, take it both hands. But the thing is, for me, it's all about just getting the points as we go forward this season. Take a point as we go, and don't get carried away. We'll lose games, we'll win games, but it's just keep accumulating those points. This season. It's all about rebalancing, surviving, and enjoying the ride. Like Dan said, it's just keeping the faith and backing the team as much as we can. So I'm going to go for a win, but my head says a cheeky draw.
And Reese will be the first to tell you that we will win games, we will lose games, we will also draw games.
Oh, yeah, well,
I wonder what would make you say that. In all seriousness, Reese, I'm sure you've seen Sheffield United on a couple of occasions already this season. Off the top of my head, Callum O'Hare's game-breaking ability, that ability that he has to win the ball from deep and capitalise, and Gustavo Hamer's an absolute cheat code in the Championship. I don't know what he's doing here. He's Premier League quality all day long. I think Retro's right, isn't he? Tough ask for Saturday.
Yeah, and obviously players like Moor as well in that Sheffield United team. I watched them against Hull. They were really, really good. But I suppose when you're looking at the team form over the last 5 games, they've been in really close games itself, with the 1-goal margins other than the Hull game. We've got to take confidence with that, because at the end of the day, we've got to take some sort of weakness into these games against opposition. But yeah, like you alluded to, they've got some of the best players in the division, haven't they? Callum O'Hare is one of the best in the division, without a doubt. Gus Hamer was in the Premier League last year as well with them, and was wanted by many Premier League clubs in the summer. But yeah, and we thought they were going to struggle, didn't we, going into this season due to their problems off the pitch as well. And selling on players and not having much coming in, but they've started really, really well with the recruitment. But obviously, there's got to be a time where we got to stick up to these big boys and pick 3 points out of the bag. And although I don't think it is going to come Saturday, I can't lie to you. I know Retro was really positive then and wasn't negative, and I wasn't going to say for once, because you have been positive a few times this evening. I am generally going to go with a 1-1, if I'm totally honest, and hope that we can pick up our first win at Stoke away.
Bring on Stoke away. Cold Wednesday night. Mate. Dan saying 2-2. Gotta love it. A Lord Pengy. My predictions are 3-1 players win. I hope that doesn't mean something rude that I've just read out by accident, because I've done that a few times. Stephen Rolfe on Facebook saying 3-2 Pompey. Thanks for getting in touch tonight. Stephen Rich going for a 2-0 Pompey. Pack and Sadie. Visible comment said we've not been bad. The team is coming back and we're finding our feet. Maybe the timing's perfect for us to be facing the lower teams. 1-1 from Logan. Lux is saying 3-1 Pompey. Kevin would take a 1-0 win. OG, and if he's talking about Connor Ogilvie or an own goal in the 94th minute. At this point, he's probably talking about an own goal. Joe's going for a 1-0 Pompey win. Think we'll manage it. Thanks for that, Joe. Mike's going 1-1. Joey Smith, 1-0 Sheffield United, but a much better performance. take a 1-1 draw. Pompey and Sheffield United again looking fast going forward. Need to shut them out 2-2 with us getting the equaliser. Drama predicted from Pompey and Mush. Hans John saying Lang injury is a worry. Hopefully we'll hear more about that this week. Andy says spot on, Dan. We get about 5 of those comments a show, Andy, so thank you very much for that. Andrew said very enjoyable Our Lads roll on Saturday. Well, that's why I brought in the big guns, Little Reese, Retro Shirt, Sean and Dan, providing all the entertainment for you this evening. I'm 30 seconds over, Dan, so apologies it hasn't all been packed into an hour for you guys. I know you are incredibly busy people and only have you contracted to the Sunday night hour, so I'll keep it brief. Dan, you're... well, I don't even think it's contracted, is it? Gentleman's Pompey 4-0 agreement. Your thoughts ahead of Sheffield United, briefly, sir?
I'm praying that it's the same as their last visit to Fratton Park. I fear it might not be. Our first encounter with Harrison Burrows since March, but the last one was quite good, wasn't it?
It was.
And Moor and O'Hare frightened the life out of me. Don't know. I think we're going to need to score to get anything from it. My head says we're capable. My heart says we're capable of a 1-1 draw. My head says we're going to need to work very hard to do it.
Been a pleasure to have you, Dan.
As ever, Tom, as ever. It's been a real pleasure to share this weekend with you.
Thank you, mate. Thank you for making the celebration so special. Retro, great to have you back on the show, and hopefully we'll see you in person soon. I think we need some diaries, not some diaries in the dates, some dates in the diary.
We do. I'm on it. Just need to sort out the family, but we'll be there.
That's okay, no problem at all. And that's organise the family, not sort out the family, because I think that one has two meanings, doesn't it?
You're getting Joseph Fritzl vibes.
Reese boy, see you Saturday.
Yes, mate. Thank you as always. And again, I echo everybody. I hope you had a lovely birthday yesterday, mate, and forever grateful for the content that you do for everybody as well on this channel.
Well, it's very much a collective effort. Thank you all for being with us. 2 minutes past 8, over and out from 4-0 Sunday Live. Keep the faith. Play at Pompey. Good night. God bless. Oh, hang on. We haven't quite finished. There we go. There's your closing shot.
I'm knackered now. Oh,
That's Reese getting ready for bed.